Well, the economy. It's the economy, stupid. That's what Bill Clinton said, and goodness gracious me, what a mess we are in. My own feeling, and maybe I'm getting too bearish about this, but I think we're on a sort of the edge of a precipice beneath which is a complete collapse of confidence in this country's economy, and I mean that in terms of foreign investors. I even think in terms of those who are buying government bonds, known as gilts. Maybe interest rates have to rise hugely to attract them. I'm feeling pessimistic. I wonder what Liam Halligan, GBNews' economics and business editor, thinks. Sterling crisis, cost of living crisis. She's got a lot to do quickly, Liam, hasn't she?
It's a hell of an in-tray, Nigel, not least for Kwasi Kwarteng, who's just been appointed Chancellor. You mentioned sterling. We're down at $1.15 again, pretty much the lowest since 1985. The pound against the dollar. It's partly a strong dollar story, we must say. The US is raising interest rates like crazy. The US is a safe haven in times of global conflict and crisis, etc., etc. But sterling is low against the dollar. That aggravates inflation because our imports become more expensive. And you mentioned gilts. GB News viewers and listeners are smart enough to know what we're talking about. We're talking about the rate at which the government borrows, the cost, the interest on government debt, the 10-year gilt, 10-year debt, that just went above 3.1% for the first time since the aftermath of the global financial crisis. Some people say, yeah, interest rates are going up anyway, but it is quite alarming when the government is about to unveil an energy package that is going to cost somewhere between 70 and 100 billion pounds. To put that in context,
and that's just this year.
Yeah, to put that in context, we spend about 150 billion pounds a year on the NHS. If we do this thing on Thursday, and we probably will, this energy support package, government borrowing for this financial year will double at a stroke.
And our interest on the national debt's already about 90 billion sterling.
It is, which is, you know, getting on for
double the defence budget almost.
Yeah, it's more than we spend on schools.
Yeah,
and this is debt interest payable in some senses to foreign creditors as well as domestic GB creditors.
Now, Trussonomics. It's about cutting taxes. It's about allowing people to have more money in their own pockets, and she believes by doing that it will stave off recession, it'll keep the economy moving, and it will lead to growth. But there's no guarantee, is there?
No. So Trussonomics, basically, it's the combination of spending more money and lowering taxes, so easing the fiscal side, tax and spend, while allowing the Bank of England, that almost enabling the Bank of England to then very, not aggressively, but firmly and deliberately raise interest rates to bear down on inflation. That's what Trussonomics is. Now, let's have a look at that. She wants to be pro-growth. The high spending bit and the tax cutting bit of the pro-growth policy is the easy bit. The tough bit of being pro-growth is what we call the supply-side reforms. The stuff that made Margaret Thatcher really unpopular until it worked and it made her popular. Things like deregulation, things like planning reforms, things like pushing businesses to do things more efficiently, tackling vested interests that make money out of inefficiency across the economy, a whole range of sectors. If she does the easy bit of her Trussonomics pro-growth agenda, without doing the tough bit, the supply-side reforms, I think the financial markets will take umbrage. They won't. If she does the supply-side reforms and the markets can see she's a radical, reforming Prime Minister, the Thatcher throwback isn't just about the pussy bow and the demeanour, then I think the markets, if she keeps growth going, Nigel, for now, will give her the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I tell you what, she's got one hell of a job on her hands, and to do the tough bit, she's going to get fought by the entirety of the establishment. She's going to be fought by Whitehall, she's going to be fought by some of her own backbenchers, she's going to be fought by the BBC, and we just don't know whether she's tough enough, do we?
We don't know whether she's tough enough. I wouldn't underestimate her. I wouldn't underestimate Kwasi Kwarteng, someone I've known for many years. He's a very thoughtful bloke, you know, he comes from a pretty humble background. Yes, he went to Eton. He went to Eton as a King's Scholar on a scholarship, one of the most competitive scholarships that any young person can sit. And it strikes me that he's got a thick skin, she's got a thick skin. It may be that they're going to win through and go for it and genuinely try and impose some radical reforms across the UK economy. But it's going to look a lot worse, this economy, I think, before it starts to look better.
Liam Halligan. Not an easy thing to hear, but I'm sure it's true. Thank you very much.
I'd rather be gloomy, Nigel, than wrong.
No, OK, I get that.